And see, that comes out when you get on the path. See, it's not so easy to see prior to the path, but once you get into the path, you really, really begin to see that. You start seeing it first, and these disciples or the students' manipulation and alterations of the teachings. They start changing stuff because they start feeling they know much as the teacher. You see my point? So we have to really look into this thing from the beginning and see whether it is really the case. There are many great teachers who say that you don't need teachers. It's interesting, right? Krishnamurti, for my God, 60 plus years taught the lack of any necessity for any whatsoever. Yeah. The thing is that you have to determine for yourself whether you really truly feel that you need a guru. And that has to be done honestly. Because there is no way to benefit from studying with a guru if you don't feel that you need a guru, as the brother pointed out. There was something else remarkable in your statement that reflects the wisdom of our own African sages, our own African ancestors and mystics who perhaps were at the start of all of the traditions that have come into the world. It seems that whenever we talk about meditation and yoga, we almost invariably leave out the contribution of our own African ancestors who in fact really laid the foundation of all of these systems, you see, wherever they may appear in the world. And it seems that Ptahhotep agrees with you, brother. Ptahhotep says that nobody is born wise, therefore they need a teacher. But is that the case? Because many of us we're not children anymore. I mean, we've lived, we've had experiences, we've already formed worldviews, opinions, etc. We've already accumulated knowledge, or so-called knowledge. And that accumulation of our so-called knowledge becomes the barrier that makes submitting ourselves to the instruction of a teacher very difficult. I just want you to understand that we need not, tiptoe around this subject, right? We need to be very clear. As I said before, I have seen many people in this very room who have come, heard teachings on meditation. Some have received instructions on meditation. They last about 3, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and then it's gone. The moment the path begins to become inconsistent and incompatible with their accumulated knowledge, then they off to something else. This is how it goes for us. And I don't want to mislead you, sister. Yes?
What makes them go astray then?
Their own mind, their own feelings that they know what they're doing.
Well, if that's the case, why would they come here in the first place?
That's the whole point. See, that's the whole point. We all do that. That's why I say let's not do that. You know what I mean? I don't want to, to seduce you, right? You need not waste your time, you know what I mean? And things of that nature, or waste my time, you see. And so we should be clear. So we have to look and examine the need for the guru, and if that is not there, then don't play the game. Why play the game? You see, if deep inside you really don't feel you need a guru, why play this game? It's silly. It's stupid. If you already have attained, as brother said, if you got knowledge, why are you around? Why are you looking for knowledge? I mean, have you ever thought about it? If you had knowledge, then out of what are you seeking? Yes or no?
I think that we seek for happiness down and it seems that we know worldly answers, but that's not what we need. So we seek for something other than that. And yet it seems like this pull from the worldly need causes us confusion.
I think you have said it very well. We have been searching high and low for this experience of everlasting happiness, permanent peace, some kind of refuge that gives us this complete rest, right? And we have failed to achieve that, right? And now we've looked around here, we looked around there. Many of us have traveled through so many religions, so many mosques, so many temples, so many holy books, and still that is not there. And then we hear about these gurus and masters and all these other things. So, well, we'll check that out, right? And let's see what I can get out of that, right? And again, we come into that same situation, but at all points, we're moving out of that confusion. So even out of our confusion, we're picking a guru. Now, come on, what's up with that? You're confused and you pick a guru out of your confusion. Now that guru simply becomes just some more of your confusion, right?
Still want to relate to the guru in the same way we relate to all our other gurus.
Sure, exactly. Said, or I'll put it better. You relate to the guru basically the way you've been relating to all other things. The understanding that you will begin to see here that there's a unique kind of relationship that has to exist between the gurus. If that guru is to be of any use to us, is that right? And it has to be a relationship that is unlike the relationship that we traditionally have had. Have you ever wondered about it? Have you ever thought about it? When we talk about know thyself, the mystics have always told us that the best way to know yourself, the easiest way to know yourself, is simply to look in your relationships. They are the mirrors in which you can see yourself. Interesting. Very interesting. A lot of us don't like to do that because when you look into the mirror of your relationships that you have and you get a glimpse of yourself, it may not be something that you like. It may tear down your mythology. But certainly you have to begin to see what kind of mind you got. For instance, meditation and yoga require tremendous discipline, commitment. Now, you may be a kind of person, you have never been committed or disciplined in nothing you ever done in your life. But you have this illusion that you possess discipline and the level of commitment requisite for following meditation and yoga. And after 3 months, you find out you don't have that. And then you start trying to find something wrong with the teacher, something wrong with the path, something wrong with this. You see, you still have not seen that you have never had any commitment. You have to look into your relationships first.
So on the path, Bhagwan, would you remind us that it is us? I mean, I guess I'm trying to say I think what I'm trying to say is, say for instance, we start going to the left or what have you, would you bring us back or help bring us back to the attention of what?
That is the function of a guru. You see, that's why I said we have to spar with this, because we have so much misunderstanding about it. We think this guru is some kind of, super duper, supernatural human being that has no flaws, no imperfections, that can reach down into our lives and save us. I mean, we project onto the guru the same kind of nonsense that we have projected onto the various prophets and sages of the past. That whole messianic era. You understand? We're looking for somebody to save us. You see? And there are many people who function as gurus who have played this game. But that game does not work. The highest kind of guru that you will meet will simply tell you, look, you're going to have to use your intelligence. You're going to have to do some work. You're going to, in fact, have to do all the work. I'm not saving you from nothing. You see, my whole task, as you point out, Rose, would be simply to say, Rose, look here, look here, look there, look here, look here, look there. To constantly remind you to come back. To constantly remind you to regain your intelligence. To constantly remind you, pay attention. The whole function of a guru is to remind you, pay attention, Rose, pay attention, Rose, pay attention, Rose, pay attention, Rose. It is this paying of attention, right, now, that really enlightens you. You see? And so the guru, in some respect, is important in the sense that the guru helps you pay attention, right? But it's not a kind of guru that a lot of people are looking for. This kind of person that now with just a wave of their hand or a touch of your head, it's just going to lift you up out of your quagmire. That's not, that's right.
Another thing, if I question, but does that mean, or would we consider is that I'm not trying to follow or get I shouldn't say follow the guru, but get an understanding from the guru? Is it understood that I'm just questioning, well, what is this? What is it supposed to be about?
Mm-hmm.
What am I?
No, that's legitimate. That's the whole point. You know, in fact, it's really interesting. One of the great traditions that came out of India among the African indigenous people, the Ghanaians, was encouched in the teachings of the Upanishads. And in the Upanishad, the word Upanishad literally means sitting at the feet of the master. And in that is sitting, conversing, having satsang. That's why we talk about the function of satsang. Satsang is true association. It's an association that has as its objective the discovery of the truth. And that kind of satsang is the fundamental relationship that the Buddha and the disciple have, where it is a relationship that is built on the pursuit of truth. All questioning is welcome. In fact, questioning is encouraged. One of the things in my own path that attracted me was a statement made by the initial teacher in this particular line, Swamiji Maharaji. And I can remember reading in some of his writings what they call the Sabashans, you know, the true teachings. And the first statement, before he went into anything, was that don't believe anything that a guru tells you. Believe only that which you have experienced yourself. What he was saying, that don't misuse me. Don't try to make me a substitute for your intelligence. There is nothing that can substitute your intelligence. Has never been and never will be. You see? But like Sanraj said, that so many of us comes out of this confusion, right? Confusion means that we've lost use of our intelligence in the first place, right? So questions and things of that, there's no role for blind faith at all, you see. There is a role for trust. There must be trust. Right, there's a difference. Because there are many things that you just don't know, right? As Brother pointed out, is that if you start off with the fundamental realization, personal realization, that you don't know how to attain this state called happiness. You really don't know. Now, that has to be either something that is the truth or it's not the truth. You can't play with it, right? If you feel that you know, then don't play that game, right? And if you know that you don't know, then get in proper relationship. You see? Get in proper relationship. And that is a dynamic kind of thing, grows, and it grows with time because it's a real relationship. And most of your relationships are not real. That's the whole point. Most of us have never been in a real relationship in our life. Now, I know this sounds strange. I know it must sound horrible, but please, I want you to look and see. Most of us have never been in a real relationship at all. What we call relationships are fundamentally those situations and circumstances that we are able to manipulate for purposes of gratifying ourselves. And when we can no longer gratify ourselves, we're ready to end that relationship. Is that about right? That relationship becomes a source of our misery and suffering now. Why? Because it has ceased to provide us with means of gratifying ourselves. Right? In fact, to be honest with you, most of us are not in search of so much happiness, per se happiness. We're in search of gratifications. A substitute form of happiness. And we're looking for a way to permanently, without interruption, gratify ourselves. And that is what we normally think of as happiness. So it gets really deep. So the first stage is to know thyself, and the easiest way to know yourself is to examine and look closely in your relationship, because all of your relationships will be are mirrors that you can look directly into and get a glimpse of where you at, right? See how your mind works. You have to see how your mind works, because meditation is all about working on the mind, as I said before. So first, you got to see how your mind works. And when I say relationship, I mean relationship in the total sense of the word. I mean relationship with people. I mean relationship with your environment. I mean relationship with material things. I mean relationship totally. You see. Look and see. And looking in those relationships, you'll get an idea of how your mind works. And some of the things that you see is that you don't listen to nobody. You might see that. And it's going to be very important to listen to the people. Right? You see my point? You might look into your relationship with other people and things in life, and you will find that you really have a lot of different stuff here going on. Right? You may find that, there's a lot of things that you got to work on personally to get right. When we look into our relationships, what are some of the things that we see? Let's back up a little bit here. Let's make this a satsang today. Okay? Let's make this a satsang today. Looking into our relationships, what are some of the things that you think we will see? Yes, Sam?
I avoid conflict.
Ah, right. Avoid conflict. Conflict is another word for avoid those situations that are going to interfere with my gratification